Today on History You Should Know, it's episode 3 of the real-life Game of Thrones, The Wars of the Roses. In all its glory! A queen triumphant, a duke beheaded, a son out for revenge, and an opportunistic noble about to change English history. Go back and watch the previous episodes before watching this. December 30, 1460. Richard of York's head is on a spike. His teenage son Edmund was also killed along with him. Hindi nila hinintay ang reinforcements na dala ng anak niyang si Edward of York at ang kasama niyang si Richard Neville, the Earl of Warwick. Now, Queen Margaret's next step is clear. Free her husband, King Henry VI, from captivity and reinstate him and her son as king and heir respectively. So in the following months, she marched her army south towards London. Sa kabilang panig naman, plano ni Edward, now the new Duke of York, na ipatupad ang kasunduang siya ang magmamana ng korona. To do this, he has to beat Margaret to the punch and secure his claim before her army arrives to free King Henry. And so, treating England like a giant chessboard, the two sides made their moves. Edward of York won the Battle of Mortimer's Cross to stop the buildup of Lancastrian support in the borders, while Margaret of Anjou moved south with an army of foreign soldiers and mercenaries, mostly from Scotland. Ang pagpigil sa army ni Queen Margaret ay napunta sa Earl of Warwick. Dinala niya ang sarili niyang army at isinama rin niya bilang prisoner si Henry VI pabalik sa St. Albans. Just less than 2 months after Richard of York's death, the Second Battle of St. Albans took place. Hindi inasahan ng mga Yorkists ang biglang pagpapalit ng direksyon ng army ni Margaret. In a bloody battle, they attacked Warwick's weak flank and won a major victory. The Queen, together with her son Edward, freed King Henry VI. Tumuloy sila patungong London para ibalik sa trono ang hari. The Earl of Warwick escaped back to London during the battle. He may have lost this battle, but he knew he could do even more damage in the capital. So he did what he did best, spread propaganda in London. One, paparating daw ang Lancastrian army made up of soldiers from the north. At parang Vikings lang noon, they were going to kill, pillage, and take their lands. And two, wala raw tunay na anak ang hari at reyna, kaya wala silang claim dahil iba raw ang tatay ng anak ni Margaret. Warwick had no evidence to support these claims whatsoever.
This episode is brought to you by
Slandering women, the fastest way to make sure they don't take power. The classiest move in a scheming noble's arsenal. To no one's surprise, it worked. Hindi pinapasok sa London ang army ni Henry at Margaret, habang lumakas naman ang suporta para kay Edward of York. It also helped that Edward looked like the medieval equivalent of a rock star, while Henry was weak and constantly struggled with mental problems. Para sa mga Yorkists, nilabag ng mga Lancastrian ang kasunduan nila noong buhay pa si Richard of York. In their eyes, Henry lost his right to be king, and therefore, the one who was legally next in line must be crowned. That's Edward of York. So in this moment, England had 2 kings.
But there can be only one.
I am immortal! In March 1461, about 50,000 soldiers assembled in Towton. At least 28,000 of them won't ever leave. To this day, the Battle of Towton is still the bloodiest battle fought on British soil. Mas marami ang Lancastrians at mas mataas ang posisyon nila. Pero dahil sa masamang panahon at hindi inaasahang reinforcements para sa mga Yorkists, umatras sila. As some of the Lancastrian soldiers retreated, they were chased down by the Yorkists. In one instance, there were hundreds of soldiers drowning in the river, weighed down by their very heavy armor. The Yorkist archers rained down arrows on them. It was said that the water ran red for days. With this Yorkist victory, King Henry, Queen Margaret, and their son Edward escaped and went into hiding. The Earl of Warwick, through all his efforts, earned a new nickname, the Kingmaker. And his greatest creation was when the 18-year-old Edward of York officially became Edward IV, first from the House of York to be crowned King of England. Sa mga sumunod na taon, sinubukan ni Edward pagkasunduin ang dalawang panig. He allowed nobles who sided with the Lancastrians to have land. He was willing to work with some of his former enemies. He wanted nothing but peace under his reign. And the ambitious kingmaker, the Earl of Warwick, is now the most powerful noble in the country. And he thought he could extend this peace outside of England. Parang kasal ni Margaret kay Henry, he used his good relationship with the King of France to have Edward marry a French princess. Peace in England, peace with France. The perfect recipe to make money and calm the country. Wala nang hadlang para matapos ang gulo. The Yorkists are now in power under the rule of a king who's the complete opposite of Henry VI. Surely, the conflict would finally end, right? In 1464, King Edward IV made an announcement to his council. He has already married a woman. She's English, rich, but not from the nobility. She used to be married, but her ex-husband died fighting for the Lancastrian side. He married Elizabeth Woodville. The Earl of Warwick, Edward's closest ally and the man who put him on the throne, deeply felt the humiliation on an international scale.
Désolé, Roi Louis.
And even for a powerful man like Warwick, there were some people outside his influence. And the Woodvilles fell right under that category. He despised them. What will the kingmaker do now? Uh-oh! See you in the next episode. Follow for more, and boom! Now you know.